For 500,000 years ago, unexplainable horrors of cursed prehistoric humans facing sinister nature. The air hung heavy with dread, a dreadful silence cloaking Maplewood like a shroud. Lisa felt it first as she chased after her son, Teddy, the wayward soccer ball bouncing wildly across their backyard. Just as she reached out, Teddy's exuberant laughter was swallowed by something darker lurking just beneath the surface. It was a sound that didn't belong, an echo of something ancient, buried deep, waking up in defiance of time. Her heart raced as she looked to the sky, thick clouds swirling ominously above. Then Teddy froze, eyes wide with wonder, as he knelt to pick something from the earth, an odd, jagged stone tool covered in strange markings. It glinted unnaturally in the waning light, and as he held it up, Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of relic could be hidden in the simple soil of their suburban lawn? The comforting illusion of safety began to unravel. Over the next few days, the whispers began. Low, unintelligible murmurs seeped through the walls of their cozy home, echoing against the chill of the night. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, always a fleeting blur that sent her pulse racing. Teddy grew increasingly distant, silence replacing his vibrant chatter. Weeks passed, but Lisa could still hear the whispers, and each night they grew louder, pulling her down into a suffocating well of anxiety. Desperation led her to Mr. Stroud, the odd historian next door, a man who seemed to know more than he should. His eyes sparkled with too much knowledge, a terrible fascination. When he saw the stone, a grin cracked across his face, uneasy and unsettling. "Ah, the guardians awaken, my dear. You must understand the legends of these lands, the curses of the beings who walked here before." Lisa wanted to run, yet fear for Teddy's safety cemented her resolve. The stories he told chilled her to bone of savage, cursed ancestors who bled into the essence of the earth, lost souls guarding their secrets. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the shadows deepened, Lisa felt the weight of the past looming. Something wicked clawed at the edges of her world, threatening the safety of her home. Teddy's retreat into silence weighed heavy on her heart. The joy in his eyes had dimmed. The once friendly neighborhood had transformed into a breeding ground for malevolence. Every creak in the floorboards became amplified in the silence. Twilight swallowed the streets whole, pierced only by the creeping dread she could taste on her tongue. She watched through the window as clouds gathered, dark and menacing. A primal fear tingled in her veins when suddenly she saw Mr. Stroud again, lurking in the shadow of her porch. Something in his gaze stopped her cold, a flicker of pure terror that hinted at secrets he couldn't contain. As she turned to flee, the whispers crescendoed, rising into a terrible cacophony. The cursed beings beckoned for her. Lisa could feel their breath on her neck, a haunting plea echoing through the silence. In that moment, she had to choose. Would she give in to the fears that mocked her sanity, or fight against the curse entwined with the very soil of Maplewood? As the ground beneath her seemed to twist and shift, a gut-wrenching scream pierced through the suffocating darkness, leaving her breathless. What nightmare awaited them in the encroaching shadows? With that question echoing through her mind, the horror had only just begun. The night's dense shroud enveloped Maplewood, the air vibrating with an icy terror. Lisa stumbled backward, breathless, as the primal scream faded into an unsettling hush. Her gaze darted toward Teddy, who stood eerily still, eyes glazed over, clutching the jagged stone too tightly. It glimmered, its markings swirling and shifting like a haunting memory come to life. Teddy Lisa's voice trembled, the sound barely escaping her throat. She reached out, but he didn't respond. The distance between them felt insurmountable, a chasm fueled by dread. Shadows flickered around him, inviting him with their chilling allure. The whispers intensified, filling her mind with sinister promises she dared not entertain. Suddenly, Mr. Stroud stepped closer from the porch's shadows, a sinister grin stretching across his face. You must understand, the connection has been made. He is chosen now, part of something far greater than us. His words echoed with dark possibility, wrapping around Lisa like a vice. No, stay away from my son, she shouted, panic igniting a surge of adrenaline. Her maternal instinct kicked in, overriding her paralyzing fear. She rushed toward Teddy, each step feeling heavier, as if the ground beneath was clawing back. But the swirling clouds above pulsated with a breath of wind, and with it came the whispers, a torrent of lost languages begging for release. They pressed against her ears until the noise became unbearable, overshadowing her desperate shouts for Teddy. Then, she saw it, that a visage materializing in the darkness, a form twisting and coiling amidst the shifting shadows. It loomed over Teddy like an ancient predator, ready to snatch him into the void. Terror gripped Lisa's heart as she raced forward, reaching for her child. Just as she grasped Teddy's shoulder, a searing pain coursed through her, a sharp invasion that forced her to let go. "Mom," he whispered, confusion marring his innocent face. The shadows thrummed with life, shadows that danced to a rhythm only they could hear. Lisa felt an ice-cold hand gripping her heart, choking her resolve. "We have to go now?" she urged Teddy, pulling him toward the house. But as they turned, Mr. Stroud stood in their path, an anchor of dread preventing their escape. "Lisa, it's too late. Don't you see? They are awake because of him." The Guardians won't let him leave. His eyes glinted with a twisted excitement, a dangerous knowing that petrified her to her core. The ground trembled beneath them, and the walls of their home cracked, unleashing a flood of whispers. The tone morphed from beckoning to shrieking, an agonizing wail of anguish laced with sheer malevolence. "Teddy, run!" Her voice cracked, urgency bleeding into desperation. Instead of moving, he stepped toward Mr. Stroud, as if entranced. "No!" Lisa shouted again, the terror pooling in her chest boiling over. She lunged forward, pulling Teddy to her. Yet, in that moment, the ground quaked violently. The stone erupted from Teddy's grip, landing with an ominous thud at the feet of Mr. Stroud. The shadows coiled tighter, a living web, urging to bind them all. In a heartbeat, realization struck like a bolt of lightning. The markings on the stone, the curse had been released. The Guardians were angry, and they demanded their own. "Help me. I can't lose him," Lisa screamed, her voice cracking. The air grew thick, her heart a drum pounding in her ears. Just as she turned to flee, a figure appeared in the distance, obscured by heavy darkness far too familiar. "Lisa, help!" a voice trailed, sounding like Teddy's, but less innocent, a far-off echo that sent chills down her spine. Desperation flooded her veins, and she lunged once more, but the shadows swallowed them both. As she reached out for Teddy, gripping nothing but air, a sinister laugh hung in the air. What bond had been forged under that cursed stone? And what unspeakable horror had finally been unleashed? The shadows shifted as a cacophony of tormented souls joined the whispers. The veil of darkness tightened, a heart-stopping moment suspended in time, leaving Lisa gasping for answers. Whatever was awakening was much closer than she realized. The darkness loomed, an oppressive weight pressing down on Lisa as she reeled from the loss of her child in the void of shadows. Panic surged through her chest like an electric current. The anguished cries of lost souls echoed in her mind, their lament a chilling reminder of what was at stake. Desperate, she spun around, clutching at the air. "Teddy!" Her voice cracked, a raw plea that ricocheted off the walls of the night. But all that responded was the cacophony of the whispers growing louder, an endless chant of torment and despair. Mr. Stroud laughed, twisted with glee, each chuckle a dagger piercing her sanity. "You should have left well enough alone." His silhouette merged with the shadows, his form slipping easily into the darkness. "It's already begun. The Guardians won't let him go easily." Lisa felt her breath shallow, panic clawing at her throat. She had to break through this spell. Turning back towards where Teddy had vanished, she staggered forward, unwilling to surrender to the darkness. Each step felt like wading through thick fog, the shadows clutching her ankles, intent on dragging her down. "Where are you?" she whimpered, her voice trembling as raw fear chipped at her resolve. Behind her, Mr. Stroud's laughter faded into sinister murmurs, and shadows of past moments hung heavy around her, teasing her with memories that weren't her own. She strained to concentrate, counting her breaths, trying to drown out the whispers. "I'm coming for you, Teddy." The declaration spilled forth, the ardent promise that now consumed her. Her hands pressed against the cold ground as she crawled forward. Suddenly, a sight caught her eye, a glimmer, faint yet distinct, just beyond the writhing darkness. Tremors of hope flickered within her heart. Was it Teddy? The glimmer pulsed, almost calling to her, growing brighter against the murkiness. As she inched closer, her heart pounded violently against her ribcage. In swift moments, the sparks of light twisted into forms, shimmering faces, twisted and distorted, danced around her, their hollow eyes filled with judgment and longing. They locked onto her, their mouths moving in unison, chanting in that lost language, their faces reflecting a terror she couldn't escape. "No." She shot back, memories of Teddy's laughter igniting her fury. "You can't have him." But with each word, the darkness around her thickened, tightening its grip, wrapping her in dread. The glimmer pulsed again, a lifeline in the dark, and her instincts screamed for her to reach it. She pushed herself to her feet, driven by an unseen force. With frantic steps, she stumbled through the shadows, strands of whispers clawing at her mind. The cries morphed into desperate wails, echoing her name with chilling familiarity, twisting into forms that just might break her spirit entirely. "Why are you doing this?" she shouted into the void, unyielding. "You've taken my son." The question hung in the air, despair crawling beneath her skin. A sudden chill swept through her, sickly sweet, with an overpowering presence, shifting around her like tendrils of smoke. Just ahead, the glimmer became a blur, fading, threatening to be lost forever. But then, the shape of a small figure emerged from the depths, silhouetted against the eerie light, a child, his hair tousled, extreme brightness illuminating his terrified face. It was Teddy, but still, something had changed. "Mom," he cried, and in that moment, Lisa's heart shattered from a blend of relief and fear. The innocence in his voice seemed wrapped in something darker, that hunger of the shadows encroaching around him. The air vibrated around them with a sinister energy, unsettling and unrelenting. "Stay back, Teddy." She reached out, trying to banish the gloom as she edged closer. But as Teddy hesitated, shadows draped over him like black velvet, consuming him inch by inch. "It's too late, Mom," Teddy whispered, his eyes with a haunting emptiness that sliced through her heart. "They need me." The shadows let out a roar, an overwhelming chorus of tormented spirits. Lisa screamed, realization crashing down on her like a tidal wave. This wasn't just about her child. Something much deeper had awoken. It was destructive, insatiable, and growing stronger by the heartbeat. What other horrors lay hidden within the darkness? And would Teddy ever return to her? Lisa's breath quickened, each inhalation a struggle against the weight of despair pressing against her chest. Teddy's words echoed in her mind, infusing her limbs with a mix of dread and urgency. They need him? What did that even mean? She fought the impulse to collapse, to let the shadows consume her. No, she had to hold on. She had to save him. "Fight it, Teddy," she shouted, forcing strength into her voice. "You're stronger than they are." The flicker of light emitted from him, but he appeared more ghost than boy, fading in and out like a signal lost in static. As she lunged towards him, the shadows erupted, swirling into a monstrous vortex that threatened to swallow them both. Tendrils of darkness snaked towards her, slick and cold, whispering her fears back to her in twisted tones. "Let him go. Join us." Lisa stumbled back, and the glimmer of Teddy flickered dangerously. Time was running out. The figures surrounding her writhing in agony, their faces twisted in permanent expressions of torment, horrified her. Were they guardians or something worse? A surge of anger pushed her forward. "No, this is not your time." She pressed onward, the shadows clawing at her, tearing at her resolve with icy fingers. She saw a flicker of something behind the child, a shadowy form dancing just out of reach. Mr. Stroud had orchestrated this. He had made her vulnerable. "Mom, help!" Teddy cried out, his voice trembling. The bottom of her heart dropped. "Hold on, sweetheart," she yelled, reaching out, fingers stretching toward his face, desperate to brush back the darkness like a veil. The space between them seemed insurmountable, a chasm filled with horrors clawing toward her, eager for her surrender. But as she closed in, the shadows twisted into a grotesque figure. The whispers took on a sinister vibrato. You must choose, dear Lisa. Him or you. Lisa's mind raced. Choose. What kind of choice is that? I want to lose him. Her fingers brushed against the empty air where Teddy's face turned to one of fear, his vibrancy dimming as he was slowly enveloped in shadow. Mom, please. His voice trembled, the chilling sound of a mother's nightmare, the plea of love mixed with the eerie pull of something more ancient and terrible. Lisa's heart ached. Just then, a sudden rush of warmth surged through her, as if from deep within her own heart. She was being called to. I love you, Teddy, she shouted, her voice echoing against the wall of shadows. You fight. Fight for us. The shadows recoiled momentarily, hissing, and in that instant, Teddy's eyes flickered, the hollow void starting to fill with life again. Hope kindled deep within her. She lunged forward, and with a fierce scream, she tore through the darkness, reaching for him. The moment her fingers brushed against his cold skin, the world exploded in light. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony rising into a fever pitch of anguish. The faces, once so pitiful, became grotesque masks of rage, battered against an invisible wall as the light pushed through. But it wasn't enough. Beneath the brightness, something twisted. The ground shook, and a low hum began to rise. Cold laughter echoed, reverberating in her bones. Mr. Stroud's silhouette emerged once again, his eyes glinting with malice. Foolish girl, you think you can just take him? The ground split, revealing an abyss lined with shadows stretching far beyond sight. A creature emerged, something formed of anguished cries and darkness, a wretched amalgamation, a guardian of the lost. Lisa staggered backward, clutching Teddy tightly to her. This wasn't just a fight for her son anymore. It was a battle for sanity and salvation against forces beyond comprehension. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light erupted, sending tremors through the ground. You can't save him without the price, the darkness whispered, curling around her ankles like smoke. Pulling her down, the shadows roared again. Would she have the strength to rise above? All the while, Mr. Stroud's laugh rang out, taunting, echoing through the dark abyss. And deep below, the creature stirred. Could Lisa save Teddy before they were both lost forever? The ground trembled beneath Lisa's feet, the oppressive darkness looming ever closer, clawing at her sanity with icy fingers. The creature, a wretched thing of twisted shadows and distorted screams, writhed in the abyss, as if drawn by the very essence of her fear. Each heartbeat echoed a desperate drum, a reminder of how close they were to the edge of oblivion. Mom, please, Teddy begged, the vibrant flicker in his eyes now barely visible. The shadows writhed around him, eager to swallow his light whole. Lisa's heart felt like it was shattering. She couldn't watch her son fade away. Not now, not ever. Stay with me, she screamed, drowning out the cold laughter that crawled through the air like a swarm of flies. The shadowed form of Mr. Stroud loomed above, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling delight at her agony. You want him? Then you must pay. His words spun through Lisa's mind like a whirlwind. What did he want? Was her soul the price? The thought ignited a primal fear deep within her. The darkness pulsed, feeding off the dread that rippled through her veins. No, she shouted back defiantly, raising her voice against the cacophony that threatened to enclose her. I want to let you. As if to answer her resolve, a surge of warmth blossomed in her chest, a flame reigniting in her heart. Suddenly, the ground beneath her began to vibrate with an energy that felt both alien and familiar. The shadow creatures howled, retreating from the newfound light swelling around Lisa. The moment felt fragile, like glass on the brink of shattering. In that instant, Teddy's face brightened, a tiny spark of resistance against the consuming darkness. I'm here, Mom. I can see you, he cried, the shadow tendrils hissing as they recoiled from the light she radiated. It was a fragile truce, but she seized the moment, moving toward him with fierce determination. But even as hope flickered, the abyss writhed anew. The grotesque creature twisted, the shadows coiling tightly around its features, forming a face that encompassed 1,000 tormented screams. It surged forth, hungry for souls, eager to reclaim what it believed was its due. Now, Lisa, the price, Mr. Stroud urged, his smile maliciously wide. What did that mean? Would she have to sacrifice herself? The idea made her stomach churn. Teddy needed her, needed to be anchored to the world, and she felt the pull of an ancient bond tightening between them, a link unbreakable even by darkness. I will fight this, she declared, words strong yet trembling. I will not let them take you. With a fierce roar, she plunged forward, healing warmth enveloping her fists as if she were wielding sunlight. The shadows shrieked, their voices rising in a chaotic symphony of anguish, clashing against the light. Lisa felt the shadows clawing at her, trying to drag her down, but with every ounce of strength, she pushed through. The ground beneath her feet fractured, creating a new rift laden with danger. And through it, images flashed, horrors she could hardly comprehend, remnants of prehistoric dark forces that had once roamed the earth, lost to time, yet longing for another chance to feed. The creature's true form began to materialize, a manifestation of fear, hunger, and malignancy, ancient and unyielding. Mom. Teddy's voice pierced the cacophony again, a tether she could cling to amidst swirling madness. Urgency erupted within her. Could she beat back the darkness threatening to engulf them? Or was her fight an act of futility, sucking her deeper into despair? Driven by desperation, she lunged forward, grasping for Teddy as the shadows coalesced into a feral roar of rage. Together, she cried, bright beams of light flickering between them, daring the darkness to approach. The air grew thick with impending doom, punctuated by the low thrum of Mr. Stroud's cruel laughter. What monstrous entity awaited them as they stepped into the maw of terror? And in that heart-stopping moment, as the void gaped hungrily before them, Lisa understood the choice had never been hers alone. Would her love be enough to shatter the blackness, or would they both be devoured by the very sins of a world long forgotten? The abyss roared, a swelling presence of dread that enveloped Lisa and Teddy as they stood on the precipice of fear. The light between them flickered, teetering like a candle in a relentless storm. Mr. Stroud's laughter mixed with the shadows' screams, a horrifying symphony that echoed in Lisa's mind, drowning out her thoughts. Don't break the bond, Teddy cried, reaching out, his small hand trembling. The shadows brushed against him, prickling like icy tendrils. Lisa squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, finding strength in the love she felt swirling inside an unquenchable fire, fierce and wild. No, she shouted again, more forcefully. You can't have him. With each word, the light radiating from her swelled, illuminating the terror swirling around them. The creature recoiled as if scorched by the brightness. Shadows writhed but could not touch them. They were mere phantoms in the face of pure love. Suddenly, the ground beneath them cracked, fissures groaning like ancient bones. Lisa's heart raced as the black abyss opened wider, revealing glimpses of memories and nightmares. Horrific visions of prehistoric creatures pulsated there, their tormented screams a haunting melody. It was an open portal to a time where darkness reigned and light was just a distant flicker. Mom, look! Teddy shouted, his voice strained. They're coming. Lisa's eyes snapped to the rift, and her breath hitched. From the crevices, shadows morphed into grotesque figures, remnants of something savage and long forgotten. Eyes glowing with malice locked onto her, filled with insatiable hunger for souls. Lisa felt the concept of fear shift. It wasn't just her life they wanted. This was a craving for something deeper, a longing for despair itself. In your name, Rava, Mr. Stroud sang mockingly, invoking a name that felt wrong on the tongue. A wave of cold fear washed over her. Let them feed. The air thickened, tension palpable as the ancient figures began to surge forth, tongues of shadow snapping like jaws closing in on their prey. She could feel Teddy's heart racing, could sense his pulse quickening beside her. Remember, my love is our shield, Lisa whispered fervently, summoning all the warmth she could muster. Teddy nodded, offering a brave smile that flickered like the light surrounding them. It was a reminder of their bond, their love, the very thing she needed to face this darkness. The shadows lunged, but Lisa held out her arms wide, channeling every ounce of warmth into a brilliant shield of light. It burst forth, illuminating the vast space as though the sun had risen within the abyss, forcing the creatures to shudder and hiss. But the darkness was relentless, each pulse of light only stoking its fury. The shrieks escalated, a mixture of rage and desperation. This wasn't just a fight for their lives. It felt like a clash of ancient forces, a battle for souls lost to the ages. The surge of power rippled through the ground beneath her feet, a heartbeat different from her own. The earth shuddered as if recognizing her plea, trembling in response. The truth hit her like a punch to the gut. This darkness had a source, something ancient that lay dormant just beneath the surface. The creature lunged again, daring to break through her light. It was now or never. With a determined scream, Lisa turned to Teddy, urgency lacing her voice. "We have to push back." Together, they raised their arms, pouring their collective strength into the beams of light. It pulsed and shimmered, casting away the shadows that dared come too close. But there was an underlying fear she could not shake. What if this wasn't enough? With terror clawing at her heart, she realized that what awaited them was more than just shadows and screams. It was a reckoning of sorts, a darkness that had been lurking for eons, waiting for a moment of vulnerability to consume them whole. In the deafening silence that followed, as the shadows peeled away like a withered leaf in fall, Lisa sensed the presence lurking just within reach. "What did we awaken?" she gasped. As the rift pulsed ominously, the answer danced just beyond comprehension, and she knew they were only beginning to scrape the surface of horrors that stretched far beyond their reality. What ancient evil had been disturbed, and would they stand a chance against it? The ground trembled violently, sending ripples of fear through Lisa's veins. It felt alive, aware, as though the earth itself was revolting against the darkness she'd just awakened. The abyss, the place of shadows and nightmares, seemed to concertina, and in that moment of panic, a loud rumble issued from the rift. "What is happening?" Teddy shouted, his wide eyes reflecting sheer terror. Lisa clutched his hand tighter, feeling his tiny bones almost crack under her grip. "Stay close. Don't let go," she yelled, but her own voice felt muffled against the chaos. The wails from the abyss morphed into something sinister, a chorus of suffering that clawed at the edges of her sanity. Images twisted and flickered within the dark, memories of their lives overlapping with distorted faces of the ancient beings that prowled beyond. Were they truly memories? Or were they figments, manifestations of a deeper evil seeking to ensnare them? Then she saw it, pale, gaunt figures looming at the edges of the rift, skin stretched tight over bones, and hollowed-out eyes reflecting nothing but voracious hunger. They were not human, at least not entirely. Shadows draped over their forms like tattered shrouds, flickering as if the very fabric of their being was unstable. They looked like remnants of a long-lost civilization, cursed to haunt this abyss forever. Mom, Teddy's voice trembled, filling Lisa with dread. "They're looking at me, I know, sweetheart, I know," she whispered, forcing her gaze to stay centered on Teddy and not falter. Every instinct screamed at her to break their bond, to withdraw, to run, but she couldn't let fear win. Their love, their unity, was the only thing that could withstand this malevolent force. The ground beneath them cracked wider, black tendrils of shadow gripping at their feet. Lisa could feel the coldness seeping into her bones, a numbing void that threatened to steal away any warmth, any hope. The abyss throbbed with life, pulsating like a heart determined to draw her in. "Mom, do something," Teddy cried, as the shadows writhed closer. "Hold on to me," she screamed, raising her other hand toward the darkness. Drawing from her love for Teddy, she poured her very essence into the beam of light. It glimmered and morphed, becoming a dagger cutting through the thick fog of despair. This light, this energy was born from everything they had survived together, every moment of laughter, every second of loss. But the darkness recoiled, only for a heartbeat. Then, furious shrieks echoed through the rift, and the grotesque figures began to lunge forward. "Rava!" Mr. Stroud's voice boomed, slicing through the cacophony with chilling clarity. "You cannot stand against the tide of history. You are not its saviors, but its snacks." Lisa's heart plunged. With a primal scream, she pushed Teddy behind her, shielding him with her body as the darkness surged like a tidal wave. The pulse of dread was tangible, a living thing, and she felt it slipping around her. It sought entry, mocking her resistance, feeding on her despair. "Fight it, Lisa. Fight it." A voice boomed in her head, a whisper of something familiar and ancient, driving her onward. Suddenly, a crack erupted in the ground under her, sending her and Teddy to their knees. The light flickered, dimming, and with it, hope began to wane. Was this the end? Would the shadows finally swallow them? No, she screamed, feeling energy swirl within her, old and powerful. Yet doubt crept in. This power felt like fire but burned her from within. She had to confront the source. They had awakened something ancient, something with terrible power. But the question gnawed at her. What if Rava demanded a sacrifice? Just then, the dark figures halted, their glowing eyes focused not on Lisa, but on Teddy. The sudden realization cut through the fog of fear. No, not him, she screamed, but the shadows lunged, intent and hungry. What was she willing to risk to save her child? Would she dare to step into the abyss to shield him? The answer was relentless. She would do anything, but Teddy was torn between light and dark, and Lisa knew she couldn't hold them back alone. Brace yourself, she thought, because what came next might shatter everything. What horrors awaited them, lurking just beyond the veil? The shadows lunged, stretching towards Teddy with an unreal speed, as if time itself had collapsed. Lisa's heart thundered in her chest, each beat fueling her desperation. She had to act. "Get back," she screamed, adrenaline amplifying her voice to a piercing shriek. The air thickened, and for a moment, the world around them shifted. Teddy's wide eyes sparkled with confusion and fear, but he didn't obey. He stared, mesmerized, at the horrors that edged closer, pale hands clawing through the fissures in the earth, murky and twitching. In that instant, something in Lisa snapped. She felt the weight of every threat, every nightmare, every doubt hurling at her. The ancient darkness was here, and it was hungry. But so was she, hungry for her child's safety, ready to wield whatever power she had left. "Not today," she roared, gathering the light that flickered weakly around her. It sparked to life, illuminating her surroundings for a fleeting instant, pushing back the encroaching blue-black shadows. Teddy gasped. "Mom, help!" His voice sliced through the din of terror, and the shadows faltered, momentarily stunned by her outburst. In that breath, she rushed forward, grasping Teddy's wrist, pulling him away from the gaping chasm of the abyss. "Stay close." She wrapped them both in her arms, scanning the chaos. The figures paused, recoiling as if stung by a light they could not withstand. Their hollow eyes glared, and the air filled with a low, rumbling growl, an echo of their insatiable hunger. Panic ripped through Lisa as they darted sideways, stumbling over the cracked earth, retreating from the fissure's edge. Yet the ground beneath them writhed, trying to pull them back, and the darkened tendrils snaked around her ankles, dragging with a strength that threatened to tear them apart. "No," she cried out. It felt like ice, crawling up her legs, numbing her resolve. This wasn't just evil. It was a tempest, alive and relentless, tearing at the very fabric of her being. "Mom!" Teddy screamed, his voice cutting through the dread as the darkness tried to consume them both. A primal fear welled within her. If she faltered now, if she let go now, she grit her teeth, rallying that flicker of power again, calling upon every moment when hope had triumphed in her heart. "Let go of us." With fierce determination, she thrust her hand forward again, channeling her essence into one last flicker of light, sheer willpower pouring out like molten lava. The darkness hissed, recoiling as strands of soft, shimmering luminescence wrapped around her and Teddy, forming a barrier that pulsated with life. But with a heart-stopping roar, the dark figures surged forward again, their grotesque mouths stretching into twisted grins, revealing rows of sharp teeth glistening in their insatiable hunger. Shadows sizzled against her light, a violent clash. Teddy clung to her tight, wailing beneath the weight of their impending doom. And then, within the shadows, a voice threaded through the chaos, cold and piercing like a dagger. "You cannot save him, Rava. He is destined for the abyss, just as you are." Lisa's blood ran cold. Were those words a prophecy or a threat? "Teddy!" she shouted, clutching him tighter, taking a step back, trying to create distance from the encroaching blackness that reached out hungrily. You are stronger than this. Fight it. But could he? In that moment, she felt the tension mountain between them. The shadows pulsed with an almost erratic energy, a force of nature refusing to be tamed, beckoning to every one of her doubts like a siren. From the corner of her eye, Lisa noticed a flicker in the rift, something beyond the darkness, an even darker specter looming, watching with intent. Her heart raced at the realization that this presence wasn't just part of the void. It was embedded in it, pulling the strings. What did it want? Suddenly, an unearthly chant began to rise around them, reverberating through the ground, echoing her own heartbeat, a mingling of wrath and despair, possessed by the essence of something far older than themselves. What is it? Trembling, Teddy pulled at her hand. I don't like this. The shadows twisted into a storm, ready to break. Brace yourself, Lisa yelled, but the words felt like a great farewell. And before they could react, tendrils of black wrapped around her waist, stealing her breath, dragging her towards the rift. She was losing grip on reality, on him. Desperation bubbled within. What fate awaited them, caught between light and dark? As her vision darkened, Lisa's final thought screamed through the chaos. Was there a path to salvation, or had they stepped into the maw of hell itself? Fingers of darkness clutched at Lisa's essence, pulling her deeper into the void. A cold dread encased her. It was like being submerged in ice water, every instinct screaming for survival. Teddy's terrified shout echoed in her ears, but the sound grew muted, fading into an abyss of despair. Lisa's thoughts raced, tangled with the shadows. Not like this, I can't let it end like this, she struggled, kicking against the malignant grasp that sought to drag them down. But the tendrils wrapped tighter, threatening to crush her spirit. No, she gasped, her voice barely a whisper. She felt a sickening weight in her chest, the crushing realization that time was slipping away. The shadows were consuming more than just light. They were siphoning hope. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of clarity erupted within her. The flickering light she had conjured was a beacon amidst the encroaching darkness. It pulsed with potential, yearning to expand. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about Teddy. With every ounce of will she could muster, Lisa summoned the spark, feeding it with her memories, sunlit days, laughter, everything that made them feel alive. I want to let go, she cried out, and a surge of warmth radiated from her soul. The shadows shrieked and recoiled, the unearthly chant now morphing into a chorus of pained wails. Stretched thin, Lisa's focus cracked through the suffocating veil. She felt a flicker of hope ignite, but then, the dark specter revealed itself, a monstrous outline shifting within the rift. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent hunger, vast and consuming. Foolish mortal, it thundered, a voice that vibrated against her bones. You cannot hope to defy the hunger. This is destiny. As the specter advanced, Lisa felt the poor thread of power weakening, like a candle flickering against the rising wind. Panic clutched at her throat. Teddy's grasp was firm, but he trembled. Hold on, my love. With the last reserves of her strength, she lashed out again, the luminous barrier expanding, pushing against the dark mass. It cracked the shadows, screeching in rage. You are not destined for this. But then, something shifted. The remaining darkness retaliated, clawing back with renewed ferocity. They were surrounded by a vortex of despair that played on their fears and tears, pulling them into a swirling void. The shadows morphed, forming faces of the lost. They reached out, their whispers becoming louder, sharper. Join us, let go. It clawed at Lisa's mind, threatening to consume her from the inside out. Listen to me, Teddy, she shouted over the cacophony of dread. Think of the best moment you've ever had with me. Focus on that. Eyes wide with confusion, Teddy struggled against the shadow's grip. But the darkness tightened, reshaping into tendrils that threatened to envelop her son. The bright light shimmered against it, pushing harder, yet it seemed to palter. Mommy, his voice was breaking as if it realized the stakes. I can't see you anymore. Her heart splintered. She couldn't let him go. Not now. I'm here, Teddy. Fight with me. The ground quaked beneath them, the vortex swirling faster, the chant reaching a fever pitch. A malicious grin stretched across the specter's face, as if it knew they were losing ground. Suddenly, Teddy's face flickered determination, remembering what unyielding love looked like. I want to let them take you, he shouted, strength blossoming in his small frame. The darkness hissed, as if recoiling from Teddy's defiance. Together, Lisa yelled, reaching deep into the essence of light flowing between them. The shadows shrieked, erupting into foamy chaos as the light burned brighter. In that moment, time paused. The air crackled with tension. The dark faces blurred into a swirl of angry, anguished shapes. Then, with one resonating roar, Lisa and Teddy's combined light collided with the specter, igniting a blinding explosion of power. The darkness convulsed, shrieking in dismay, swirling around as a violent storm. But just as the silence threatened to fall, a shadow pierced through the emerging brilliance, slashing toward Teddy, its claw inches from his cheek. Teddy screamed. The world splintered. What sacrifice must they face to escape the clutches of the dark? Would their combined light be enough to hold back the abyss, or would the shadows find a way to claim them both? As the shadows writhed and twisted, Lisa's heart raced like a runaway train. The darkness screamed and howled, an echo of anguish resonating in the air. Teddy's terrified face was illuminated by the blinding light they had conjured, but in a split second, the chaos shifted, revealing a jagged silhouette lunging for him, a dark claw stretching through the light, desperate to reclaim what had been freed. No, Lisa roared, every fiber of her being igniting with primal rage. She surged forward, pushing against the torrent of shadows. Time felt warped, stretching around them as the abyss closed in. She had to save him. Just as the shadow's claw grazed Teddy's cheek, Lisa dove into the fray, extending her arms wide, wrapping them around her son. Light exploded from her chest, radiating outward in a blinding wave, forcing the darkness to recoil. They were connected. The sheer force of her will and love fueled a barrier of brilliance that clung to them like a protective shroud. Teddy, Lisa shouted, feeling his small frame quaking against her, but the warmth in her heart was surging, defying all odds. We've got this. They can't break our bond. Think of our happiest moment. In their hearts, images began to bloom, the sweet scent of sunflowers, the laughter echoing on a summer picnic, the warmth of shared ice cream cones, memories that shimmered against the void. Teddy's eyes sparkled as he focused, clinging to those fragments of joy. Suddenly, the specter reared back, its hollow eyes narrowing. A guttural growl resonated through the air. You think you can defy destiny? Darkness will always return for what is rightfully its. It screeched, malevolence dripping from each word. Lisa inhaled sharply, squeezing Teddy tighter. It doesn't know us, she cried out, matching the specter's fury with every ounce of defiance she could muster. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, a beacon against the howling nightmares and despair. This is our moment, our love. We will not let you take him. The warmth of her unwavering love radiated harshly against the cold shadows, creating ripples of light that broke them apart, if only for a moment. The unspeakable beings surrounding them screeched, recoiling in pain, and Lisa could feel their grip weakening. I'll keep fighting, Teddy shouted, the glimmer of bravery piercing through the haze of fear. I love you. I love you too, she shouted back, feeling tears stream down her face. In that very moment, their combined light surged, illuminating their surroundings with a brilliant luminescence that sent the specter and its minions spiraling back again. But just as victory seemed within reach, the darkness lashed out, sending shockwaves through the air. The ground split further, crevices yawned, and Lisa felt the pull of the abyss return with furious resolve, a remnant of despair threatening to bubble back to the surface. Teddy was lost in the cacophony, his small form dwarfed by shadows. A part of Lisa's heart shattered at the thought. Hold on. Just hold on, she screamed as she plunged deeper into the fray, rallying every shred of strength for a final onslaught. With wild abandon, the memories poured out, lifting her spirit into a euphoric roar. The ice-cold fingers of despair that clawed at her melted away in the brilliance of their love, echoing through time, reaching back and calling upon every moment that had led them here. In a final, triumphant surge, she threw her hands forward, releasing the torrents of joy directly into the heart of the dark specter. The shadows writhed and twisted, shrieking and crying out in agony as the pure light pierced through their dark veil. You can't have us, she bellowed, and the dull ache in her chest burst wide open with a radiant glow that silenced the chaos that it felt like the very essence of love, hope, and resilience intertwined in a single moment, spilling out into the universe like vibrant fireworks, a brilliant finish to an unbearable darkness. As the light merged perfectly with the shadows, an earth-shattering crack echoed through the atmosphere, and the dark creatures let out one last symphony of despair, their figures dissipating into mist, vanishing into the threads of nothingness, and then silence enveloped them. Lisa fell to her knees alongside Teddy, breathless yet alive, the world around them shifting back to the familiar sunlight of their backyard. The air tasted fresh, the shadows receding like a nightmare dissolving at dawn. They were safe together. Lisa turned to Teddy, who blinked up at her, wide-eyed. "We did it," he breathed, pure joy painting his innocence back to life. "Yes, we did," she whispered, gathering him tightly into her embrace, the weight of all they had conquered flooding her with gratitude and relief. As they held each other, the past lingered like a bittersweet echo. They wouldn't forget, nor could they. Together, they would build a future, sunlight pouring into their lives again, a reminder that love could conquer the darkest of shadows. "Can we play now?" Teddy asked, the innocence bubbling forth like sunshine after a storm, breaking through the heaviness of what had just happened. "Absolutely," Lisa replied, wiping the remnants of their recent horrors from her cheeks and resurrecting a smile for her son. And as they stepped into the warmth of their home, with laughter blooming anew, Lisa knew they had found something priceless, a chance to embrace life. But before they closed the door behind them, she glanced back at the shadows retreating in the distance, lurking quietly for now. Their presence was a haunting reminder that darkness never truly vanished. It merely lay in wait, but they were ready, more united than ever to face whatever might come next. So, if you loved this story and want to dive into more thrilling tales that resonate with your soul, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait, hit that bell and get all notifications so you never miss a moment of adventure, and smash that like button. Every click feeds the algorithm, helping us share more incredible stories. Flood the comments with your reactions, theories, thoughts, or feelings. I want to hear from you. Finally, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't let the shadows linger. Let them bask in this light too. Together, we can keep the stories alive.